and has been able to write such a book. So the format of today's session will be, first, I will request the author to present very briefly, maybe within 10-15 minutes, about his book. I mean, it's not a very short book. So I'll request him to probably highlight the main issues of the book and also tell us for whom the book will be the most useful. And then we will go into some question answering session. So if that is all right, Shubham G, welcome. I can't see you though. Shubham Ji.
Namaste everyone. Am I visible right now?
Yes, you are visible and you are audible nicely. So please, so you may also very briefly introduce yourself, but as I understand, as I said already, Shubham Ji is an independent researcher and his fields of interests are, of course, history, philosophy, religion, political science, policy making, all of this.
Yeah.
And he has, from school, I think he has this writing talent. He has won multiple essay competitions. Professionally, he is a civil engineer. So that's a very interesting take by a civil engineer on things. And that is evident in the book. There are many engineering points that is there. So Shubham Ji,
that actually helps. Some
yes,
people do say that engineer is expert in everything except engineering.
Anyway, so please present about your book in 10 to 15 minutes, and then we will delve into a question answering session. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Actually, when I was a child, at that time, we always have some curiosity about our culture and all these things. But in my case, it was a little different. I was more into asking questions more deeply and all. I didn't get all the answers, but at the same time, my parents didn't discourage me that you should not ask about religion and you should blindly believe in all these things. So somehow they also encouraged my research. My mother used to take me to libraries in summer vacation so that I can get to read more books. I should explore my more reading hobbies. So I was more into history books rather than any other books. But at that time, I had no idea what is the connection between religion or history or any other way. So after during engineering only, I started researching about Hinduism because my senior told me that it is interesting topic. You should move towards that. So I started searching about that. But I think so at that time, maybe around 2014 or 2013, mostly books which were available were from Western scholars, London's Readers Library and all. So I got to know what is Western perspective. So I tried to find out some indigenous alternative for the Hinduism. Then I found Shankaracharya, 68 Pontiff of Kanchi Mutt of that Shankaracharya's book, The Vedas. Then I found that there is some good content in that book. The book name is The Vedas. From that, I started my journey. Then I read about Raju Malhotraji, and after reading his book Breaking India and all that narrative, then I got to know there is some serious problem with our history books, and there are some blind spots. Some things are deliberately highlighted in history books, some are discouraged. So I got to know all these things, and then I decided in engineering itself that I will write one book which will be like training the uh, especially people from Hindu community about their own religion, what is actually philosophy. So when I started writing this book, it was more about only about concept. Then I understood it is not just about philosophy or concepts. We must have a holistic perspective. What were the what were the challenges in past or present and future. So in that way, I wrote the book.
Right. So just to introduce, I can see some new attendees have joined. So
Yeah.
we are part of this Voice of India Academy. So as what we do is we are all interested in history, that is obvious. And what we do is we take up this interesting books, nice books, and we do a thorough book review. So the format is that we invite the author and we have a discussion with question answers from a set of panelists. Today, the panelists are Kiran Patagarji and me, and then a set of questions from the audience also. And so you are all very much welcome to be part of this Voice of India Academy if you are not already part of it. But without further delay, Shubham Ji, if you can please present the highlights of your book in 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, when I was writing this book, at that time I had a few major points like Aryan Invasion Theory, how inferiority complex were created about Indians in their own mind just to sell the Western products in colonial era. So all these things were there, but only the challenge for me was the decoding the narrative and what are the connection of Aryan Invasion Theory in modern era. So that was more thing, because nowadays if you see there are many conferences keep happening regarding the Aryan invasion theory. So they speak about genealogical data, archaeological data, and all those things. But problem is that those who believe in Aryan invasion theory, they are not interested in such deep research or refutation or technical refutation which is given. They are more into pelting their narratives and creating some anti-India activity. In a brief, I would say that when Indus Valley civilization was there at that time, many symbols related to Hinduism were found in Indus Valley civilization. So they were kept aside from the history books, and somehow that Indus Valley civilization was marketed as atheism. And after Indus Valley civilization, Aryan invasion was projected so that Hinduism may look imported. And after that, even Buddhism and Jainism and Charvak were imposed as atheism. So between two atheisms, the pre-Aryan atheism and post-Aryan invasion atheism, Hinduism was made foreign originated. So these kind of things are there in my book. So my book is more about the cracking those complex narratives and exposing the all those shallow attempts. So that's why the subtitle of the book is Shallow Attempts. Same thing goes with the our history books. You will find in medieval India, especially genocide, slavery, sex slavery, killings, destruction of infrastructure, temples, all these things. But at the same time, you will find a narrative in our history books that how these things were either justified or how these things were either ignored or sidelined from the history book, so that people do not find what is a common pattern between all these things. So these are some basic narratives which I break down in my book. Other than that, when you speak about Hinduism, it is not just about philosophy. Whenever we celebrate festival, it is about ecology, it is about astronomy, it is about bioindicators, how bioindicators change as per the season. And it is also about our stories or stories from our history books, or which I call Ramayana and Mahabharata. It is a history for me, not a mythology. So stories from Puranas, all these multiple data are integrated on the particular festival. So there are multiple reasons why we celebrate the festival. So aspect of ecology, astronomy is also there in Hinduism. It is not just about the philosophy or worshipping many gods. Many people project Hinduism as worshipping multiple gods or polytheism, but that's not the only case. There are so many things other than that. Even if you speak about the enlightenment, the aspect of enlightenment is missing in our history books. So many some blind spots were there. Without that, history books were written, because some people say that some sects within Hinduism are different from Hinduism or rebel against Hinduism. My argument is that if there would have been no meditation, I don't think so those faith would have existed as they are existing. So there are some basic point, or Hinduism is like a base which is allowing all the religions and all the faiths to survive or flourish in India. So that's the perspective. Unfortunately, somehow history books try to misrepresent Hinduism and all. So that was the main challenge for me to project Hinduism and Hindu fundamentalism in a right way, so that people can understand Hinduism in on those basis. Because the science of enlightenment is very fundamental for Hinduism, like experiencing God through meditation and all bhakti yoga. But at the same time, there are many stories in Puranas, Mahabharata, and Ramayana which do express the same science of enlightenment in the story format. So to understand that story, you must know what is enlightenment. You cannot just interpret as a story with hero and villain, or fight between truth and falsehood or something like that. It's not. It's just a very shallow kind of understanding of Hinduism. So I introduced some fundamentals, and accordingly, I have expressed multiple aspects regarding that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very interesting. In fact, I have read the book. I can say it has got a lot of information, and it starts with a very interesting figure about the degree of disagreement. And Shubham G says that there are multiple ways of disagreement. The book is about academic disagreement, and
Yeah.
not name calling and all of this. This is a very interesting and fun, I mean, good
The
point
name calling,
made about it.
you have pointed out, Arnabji, rightly, because name calling becomes something sometimes a personal attack, and
Yes, yes, yes.
people,
It's not needed. Yeah,
people take it in on an ego that he is
correct, correct.
targeting me or something like that. So it is very important that we express our views without hurting anyone's ego, and discuss at academic level rather than personal targeting. So that's the
Right.
reason I uh, uh, chose that way rather than academic. I chose academic discussion rather than targeting anyone.
No, that is the right way. I just wanted to highlight that you have
Yeah,
made this point explicit.
yeah,
Also, to the readers, or the potential readers who are planning to read the book, I must say that this is a very brave book, in the sense that there are many parts which I found it refreshing, in the sense that Shubhamji has called a spade quite openly. Uh, Also, a couple of interesting connections he has made uh, to the modern issues. For example, artificial intelligence. We all are facing this chat GPT issue. He has called, and I quote, he has called AI as the sixth wave of colonization. And he has said that just like history has ideological biases, so AI has biases. Now, this sixth wave of colonization leads me to my first question about the title of the book. So the title of the book is Decolonizing Hinduism. This is an obvious reference to Dale's famous book. But I would like to ask him that, do you want to say colonization is for only by the Europeans, British, or is it a colonization for the last 1,000 years when the Muslim invasion started? What is your take on that? What is colonization?
see, colonization is that one central government or central kingdom is there, and it adopts a certain pattern, and it expands itself and makes multiple colonies. So if you can see similar pattern in as you said, Muslim invasion, then why should not it be called as a colonization? So thing is that if you see in both the periods, names of the cities were changed with the, I think so, the parent language which they had, colonial masters. In that language, names of cities were changed, names of the people were changed. Local culture was destroyed or local culture was discouraged. Both the ways you see the commitment to the capital or culture of the capital. And if you see the attack by the Bakhtiyar Khilji in the Bengal, so he enters as a horse trader in the empire, and then he kills the king. So don't you
Hmm.
think so? It is the similar pattern. British entered as a traders, and then they captured the India. So this is one of the common connection. So we can say that British used Western culture or all that kind of thing as a, you can say, a Trojan horse, where they projected Western culture and all these things as a symbol of civilization and discourage the Indians and control their minds. And similar thing you can see in other ways also. So it is very important. Sometimes I do see debates like British left India, whereas Muslim invasion Muslim invasion stayed in India. But I don't think so. That can be the argument, because even
Right.
if you see the in the British era, even the Anglo-Indians stayed with us. They are the descendants of the English and Indians. So does that existence of Anglo-Indian make that British were not colonizers? So that's the basic logic. I hope you are getting whom I am
Right,
speaking
right, right,
about.
right. Right, right, right. No, in fact, there is mm, just to extend the point. So AI, or you have also mentioned cyber terrorism. These
Yeah.
are the new forms of colonization. So you may
Mhm.
please explain. I mean, just spend a few minutes on this.
Yeah, there are three phases. I have discussed AI. Like you people do know that because of AI biasness, if you
Mhm.
ask people to define, if you ask AI to define certain person from Africa, sometimes it tells that it is not human. It is a some chimpanzee or gorilla or something like that. That is because AI has been trained in such a way that only white skinned human beings are humans and rest of the are animals. So these kind of AI biases are there in AI. Similarly, in history
Mhm.
books also, we do find some certain patterns which are ideologically motivated, and because of those ideological motivation, our mindset becomes narrow, and people are not allowed to see beyond that. Like even when communists write the history, they try to fit history in their own framework, and sometimes they try to promote their own agenda through the history books. Same is the case for right wing. So these are some biases we do see in the history books also, which is similar to AI. So kind of things you felt in the history books, similar kind of generation is created, or the results we get, which is one of the similar aspect which I find in history writing and AI, that we you will find in the first chapter, Kal Bhairava, artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
second aspect to cyber terrorism is that at the first layer, what we call the cyber terrorism in India, the first layer which I am speaking, it is just a digital platform which is being used for the terrorism, like promoting the ideology or attracting the people through some religious fundamentalist or all those kind of things. I think so. It is just a platform which is being used. First, mobiles were there, now social media, and now AI or something like that. But now cyber terrorism will also take a next level, because you have seen the pager attack in the pager attack which
Mhm.
carried out Israel in the Lebanon. So you may find this level of things from terrorists also, if they get access to such level of technology. So this will be the next level of cyber terrorism. What if they also reply the Israel or other state in the similar way? Then it becomes the next level cyber terrorism. So people are not aware of all these things, but I think so maybe in 2 3 years people will get habitual about this second layer of cyber terrorism, which is more deeper than the earlier one.
Correct. So that actually brings me to, I mean, to the organization of the book. See, I think the book has got a lot of content, but in many places, I think you needed, for example, a chapter summary or something. Some places,
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, I mean, the point is, it requires a lot of concentration to read the book. So
Yeah,
although I would say that you have tried to make it very interesting, in the sense of there are lots of tables and figures, etc.,
yeah.
but a little bit more organization of the book,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe a summary of every chapter, or
At the end of
how to
chapter
read the
something
book,
like, yeah,
or beginning of the chapter, or something on how to read the book, what is there,
yeah.
etc. That
Mm-hmm.
would have helped. I mean,
I would take in that after the index, I can put some content that you should go in this sequence or something like
yes,
that.
yes, yes,
I
and
would go in the
highlight the
second
main
edition
point.
with that. Yeah,
Correct. So for the second edition, I think this will be extremely
yeah. That
important.
that might help. Yes, yes.
Huh. Um, and so now, going maybe in a more chronological order in the book. there is an interesting term that you used, which is Dravida Nadu, which is an obvious pun on the Tamil Nadu. And this so-called Dravid Aryan divide or the North-South divide has been called out. Now, one of the important things, probably you have mentioned it, but you probably did not highlight it enough, is the language issue of this. Which one is older? There is a artificial war of who came from which. Sanskrit from Tamil or Tamil from Sanskrit, or this thing. This was, I felt you could have done a bit more study on this. Of course, you mentioned Thirukural and you say that these are all Hinduism, which is okay. The point is there, but so maybe something on this.
Yeah. So the reason I didn't highlight that issue is because that issue will divert the political thing. Because if there are some things which you have to leave aside, because that may create some another political level of the discussion. If you see the writings of Periyar, collected works of Periyar, there is very famous book. In that book, he promotes the atheism. So it is not that easy to directly introduce atheism. So you have to use that Trojan horse technique. So he introduces atheism as Dravidianism or pre-Aryan invasion kind of culture where there was equality. He claims that there was equality before Aryans or Brahmins invaded. That is the most nonsensical statement, because reason is that no society ensures the complete equality, neither at social level nor at economical level. So that is, I have never seen such a society, or no one has seen. So such statement is not acceptable. After that, he goes further and then he builds up the pride of the Tamil language against the imposition of Hindi and all. So debate of the colonial era writings, whether it's collected works of Periyar or other things related to Dravidian movement, that doesn't go as deeper as you are speaking about which language is older. So literature, the basic literature itself is a shallow about it. That's the reason I have not unnecessarily highlighted that issue. But in recent election, I have seen that even Prime Minister said that Tamil is the oldest language. Then after that, few people from Karnataka said that no, Kannada is the oldest language, not Tamil.
I
So
think,
these things are so
Sorry,
these things are going on from both the sides. They are giving the argument. So once the government clears its own stand, then I would say that it is then it would be right to comment on that. But if you see the script, I have given one table in the chapter number 9 where I have shown that how from Brahmi script, rest of the script of the India, whether it is Telugu script, Tamil script, Punjabi script, or all other scripts, how they evolve out of the Brahmi script. So I have given some ethos about that.
Yeah, so you took out one letter now and did it. I mean, a complete reference will be very good in that manner. But what I wanted to again highlight. Sorry.
There is one book which I have read about Hinduism. I am not going to mention it because I do not completely agree with them. But in that book, they have said that when Vedic literature was developing, all the Vedas, so even the words from the local languages were adapted in that. So when they mention the local languages, it is possibility that even the terms from the Tamil or other languages were adopted into that. There is possibility. They don't mention any language, but they say that non-Sanskritic words were also adopted in the Vedic literature. So that's the one of the reference, but I have refused to give that because of disagreement with the author.
Which is okay, but I guess it would have been good to see, because this is one of the tools of colonizing Hinduism, exploiting Hinduism in the sense. So therefore, I wish, see, because even otherwise in some other chapter you do mention Caldwell, right? Caldwell, which is a linguist who actually started this Dravid word and all of these things.
All these things.
So
yes.
in fact, there is this. I think this is either in Thirukural or Tulkapiyam. I think probably Tulkapiyam. There is this slok even in the Tamil language which says that Arya Mane Tamilam. So which essentially means that this refers back to this legend that Shivji had this damru in hand, and one side Tamil came, the other side Sanskrit came. So these are the same things. I think that you could have highlighted a
Yes.
bit more, but I get the point that you have the reason of doing it. Now, it's so in that same manner, I think some places you could have highlighted the things in Hinduism. So, for example, you have said that time, past to present, and past to future, and future to present. There is a very explicit mention that time is cyclic in Puran, Bhagavad Puran. There are many other things, and this whole Kalpa Chakra. You mentioned this, but if you could have highlighted this and said it right at that point, that Hinduism believes time is cyclic, and then gone back, then I mean, some of the references, if in the second edition, I think you can make this more explicit, the Puranic references, etc.
But problem is that in even in the time calculation, we are having the disagreement. If you see the original Mahabharata, you will find the different time spaces. When when we come to the Aryabhata's writing, then again time calculation and all those cycle change. So within Hinduism itself, we are having multiple kind of things. So I may go for the time cycle and all. I may write another small book of 50 or 100 pages by studying all those things. It may clear more. It will create a more clear picture about the time calculation within Hinduism.
Right. No, I guess what I meant by that is not exactly the absolute values of it. There is the Sridhar's factor of 2. But this point that this universe is getting created and destroyed,
getting destroyed,
Brahma's day and all of this, I think is an important point to highlight.
Yes.
Anyway, and coming back to one of the most talked about issues in the thing is about this Varna and Jati versus caste. Now, you have avoided the word caste deliberately.
Yes.
I am not sure why.
The reason is that caste word comes from the casta, that is, I think so, Portugal word. So I do avoid speaking about that, because when colonial masters started writing history about across the globe, because multiple countries were under them, so they tried to fit all the social structures of the globe under the one word, that is casta or caste. So it is really difficult. How can you put all the global or local cultural system under one title? We already have multiple terms and terminologies, that is Varna, Jati or Upajati. These kind of things are there in Hinduism. When you have all these things, then why? And for all three, they use the word caste. Otherwise,
so don't you think this needed to be mentioned in much more detail?
Yeah,
what you are saying.
Yeah, but I generally do avoid speaking on caste and all terms. My perspective about the jati is that many people do say that in Hinduism there is varna system, not jati system. Even that is a fake narrative. The reason why varna came out is that there were multiple professions were there, and varna system categorizes all those professions so that people can have a code of conduct for the particular profession, or the category of particular varna where multiple jatis are there, they can follow some code of conduct and all those things, social and economic code of conduct. So for that, varnas were formed. Earlier these were merely qualities, and then they got concretized as a varna. So that's how evolution of varna happens. And even this evolution is expressed in a certain mythical way, you can say. And that way is that earlier there was only single varna, and Brahmaji categorized that single varna into 4 categories to rule the world. Then in that evolution is 4-phased evolution. In first phase, Satyuga, there is no discrimination or something like that. Everyone is happy. In the second, Treta Yuga, categorization is there. In the third one, the varnashram dharma falls down, so monopoly of the particular caste on particular profession, and what you call nowadays nepotism, that starts. And after that, in Kali Yuga, everything collapses. And that's
right.
How the
No, I know. I'm not talking about this. I'm saying this is a very nice explanation that you did, but I wish you touched upon the historical significance of how the word casta was modified, as you said now. I think this
Yeah.
information should have been in the book, because
Yeah.
see, this word caste, this caste census, these are extremely important issues. This was
Yes.
started
Yes.
in Bengal as a
Nowadays, they
pilot
are
project.
taking
Then,
a very a charge in the masses that people shall do caste census and all those things.
so that is why I think the book could have mentioned it.
So,
Anyway,
what do you
I think
what is your
now,
what is your opinion about the caste census? Otherwise, shall it happen or not?
no, I think this is the critique. We should understand why, how the word caste system came into being. That it was
Yeah.
done first in 1885 in Bengal as a pilot.
Yes.
Then in 1935, the Government of India Act actually formalized it, and that is how we have this reservation system and all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And we ran into different troubles about it. So I think it's not about just an opinion of whether it should do or not, but a whole critique and the whole historical perspective that how this word came into the Indian.
Even I am
Uh,
having same opinion as you, because
uh,
even the if you see the evolution of jati system or varna system, even we are not clear about that. So we need to have some historical basis how these things evolved and how these things were manipulated by
yes,
British
yes,
colonizers for their own benefit, how they categorized Hindu society, and then how culminated into reservation. We need to tell whole history. It is not just
correct.
about the calculating the numbers of particular caste, because if you are calculating only numbers of particular caste, then it is a quantitative analysis, not the qualitative
Hmm,
analysis. We need both of
hmm,
them, then only
correct.
things will happen. But I think so quantitative analysis is enough for doing politics, so people are focusing on that only.
Right. Okay. So I think I'll move on to some other questions from other panelists. I request Kiranji uh, for your comments, questions, suggestions.
Ah, Thank you, Arnab ji. I mean, what I feel is that it's a very ambitious venture that Shubham ji has taken up, a very broad canvas, and it is. I think even if you were to just focus on the what is essential to Hinduism, like you have mentioned, uh, our conception of time,
Yes.
you know it is so scientific, actually. These are
Yes.
things that most Hindus have not understood. Just like we have trivialized yoga into just asanas.
Yes. True.
Similarly, we have trivialized Jyotisha, which is a
Hmm.
Yes. Yes.
study of celestial objects,
Mhm.
into prophecy, which is just
Astrology.
which a small part of it.
Yes.
And this is something which really appealed to me, that the conception of time, and our observation, uh, very scientific observation, of the movements of the
Yes. Even
of the
when I wanted to give the proofs of all these things, I have
yeah,
deliberately given the YouTube videos so that people
yeah,
can see the visualization and understand how solar and lunar calendars
yeah,
are created. So if you check the references, they are YouTube videos, just to so that common people can at least take interest and imagine the all
yeah,
those
yeah.
things.
And even though there may be some differences from North India, South India, and all that,
Yes, yes,
Sauryamana and Chandramana and that kind of a thing.
yes. Even the
But
month of Shravana changes in
yeah, yeah.
north and as well as south.
But basically, the idea of the movement of the moon and the sun, these are the two things which are common,
Yeah.
and the festival days and all that. So this is something I really appreciate that you have highlighted it.
And sir, there is
Uh,
one point that is, it is not just about celestial bodies and their movements. Even in India, if you see the traditional people, maybe
right,
2 3 generations back, these people tell the changes in the atmosphere or what kind of things will happen if this nakshatra is there in the cosmic map. They will tell whether rain will happen or not. They will tell by looking at nakshatra whether there will be flowering of certain plant or not. So they will tell all those changes happening in the ecology by just looking at the nakshatra. So this level of observation and bioindicator, this kind of level of detailed knowledge was there in our ancient times.
Yes. I mean, that is something that I really appreciate.
Yeah.
And something which is lacking in most Hindus' appreciation of their own
Own culture, yeah.
culture.
That,
That
nowadays we are having that Gregorian calendar, which is, I
yes,
don't find any way scientific, but our ancient one was much better.
yes,
Even official calendar of India is Vikram Samvat, I think so.
that is in North India. Yes,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
anyway, that is. I just wanted to commend you on that point.
yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arnav ji.
Yeah,
Please.
I think there is question by Lakshman Kanduri ji. So you may please unmute yourself and please keep the question very brief because others may ask. Lakshman ji.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Namaste.
Namaskar to everybody, and my special congratulations to the author, Mr. Shubham G. There are two things it was not clear. I wish if you had mentioned either the moderator or yourself, you should have given the content information, all the different topics that's covered in the book, because I have not read the book, not seen the book. That would help for people participating in this discussion. Number two is, if I want to know if you mention anything about the contribution of Indians in mathematics, especially arithmetic and mathematics. I was wondering if you mentioned in your book.
Yes.
Because without math, there is no science. Without no science, there's no technology. So for everything that West is now, patting their back themselves, is all due to the Indian contributions. And I don't see anywhere it's mentioned.
Nowadays, I think so. Professional books are being written only on mathematics. How mathematics was there in ancient India. It is connected with Jyotish Shastra, but people have written book on detailed book on that. But in case of my book, I don't think so that it was necessary for me because my book gives a objective idea rather than going in very subjective way. So it was not possible for me to speak about mathematics in detail. It is more about the destroying the colonial narrative, what kind of stereotypes they create about the Hinduism. So it is like I'm like gatekeeper of the Hinduism, so that I am opening the gate of knowledge for the people, so that the people get into the right institution rather than getting diverted from it. So for that, I would say that I have focused on Ayurveda, the basics of Ayurveda, but not the mathematics.
I see. And could you please kindly give the sequence of the topics in the book, covered in the book?
Yeah.
Correct. So I can read out that.
Right.
Essentially, the part one is shaping of the reader's mind. That has got the following 5 chapters. The Cold War within, atheism invasion theory is again a very interesting term. Then Macaulay's
That is the
formula,
term for the
brand
Aryan
building.
Invasion Theory.
Correct. No, I mean, it's nice way of putting that A as atheism.
Invasion Theory, not Aryan Invasion Theory.
Which one?
Correct.
I identify Aryan Invasion Theory as atheism invasion theory.
Oh, I see. That's nice. Yeah. And then they changed it to migration theory.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. Anyway, so the other chapters are Macaulay's formula, brand building, then about religion, secularism, etc. Then the Hindu society, then history books. Then the part 2 is about humanity, then about jati, caste. The 8th chapter is human capital versus institutional efforts. Part 3 is untouchability and why I am not Hindu. This is the title of the chapter. And the opium of Marxist mythology is chapter 10. Then part 4 is has got 2 chapters, scriptures and terrorism. Part 5 has got no gods or many gods, quantum physics, 3-dimensional Buddha, and the conqueror. And the last part has got is on personality, responsibility, and vision. This is about Brahmacharya, then Dvaita, then the real fake God, These are interesting chapter names, by the way. Why rituals are always meaningless. I mean, a critic of course, he's not saying rituals are meaningless, it's critiquing that.
Yeah.
And finally, God of baseless colonizers. Now, Shubham Ji, there is a question in the chat box, which is, who is the book for, and why? What is new in the book? Given that somebody, let's say, have read Rajiv Malhotra ji, maybe Why I Am a Hindu, and this Sitaram Goel ji's books and Rajiv Malhotra ji's books. Who do you think have you intended the book for, and what is the novelty or new thing about it? Why should, essentially the question boils down to, why should anybody read your book after reading all those?
So if you read the Rajiv Malhotra's book, The Breaking India, you will find comments on Aryan Invasion, how the NGOs are working to strengthen the Aryan Invasion Theory, who are the people who are involved, how in British era it evolved. It is about the how things were happening, but it is not about how narrative was built up. So as I told you about atheism invasion theory, so it is about atheism invasion theory is like atheism doesn't find roots in Hinduism. So to make the atheism deep rooted, they planted atheism in ancient India in the format of pre-Aryan invasion India or Dravidian India, what they identify, or in Jainism, Buddhism, or Charvaka. So I give a counter argument how Buddhism, Jainism, or Charvaka are not atheist kind of philosophical school, how they are different from it. In previous podcast, I have given example regarding it. They are on my site, shubhamdevre.in. There you will find how I break down these narratives. So the book is more about narratives and countering the things. You will find in 5th chapter, the chapter name is the neutral history books before saffronization, because nowadays saffronization happening about history book. You must be listening this kind of terminology in the media. So the narratives you will see, I think so there are 17, 18 points how the medieval Indian things which happens in medieval India, how these things were given a clean sheet in history books. So this is about the breaking down narrative. The second most important point which you will find in my book is that whether we are practicing Hindus are now or nowadays we are taking interest in Hinduism, irrespective of all these things, there is one misconception in the Hindu masses that has anyone seen the God or God is a belief. But that's not the case of in the Hinduism. God is not a belief. God is an experience. So how to experience God? So to experience God, we need to activate 7 chakras and enlightenment and all those things. The actual definition of God. What does kan kan mein Ram hai means in Hinduism? So how that concept of enlightenment or concept which Shankaracharya explains in his concept of Brahman, that supreme Brahman is beyond all descriptions and attributes. How these kind of things are also explained in the format of stories in Puranas and all. So how these all the concept lead to single truth, that is Brahman or supreme God. So all these things are there. And most important thing which I find is that nowadays you will see people explaining the enlightenment similar to the quantum physics and all. I have suggested one YouTube video which is very interesting, which explains the enlightenment and experiencing God in the terms of quantum physics. So I think so that's the interesting part. So the thing which you will get after reading my book is that is certainty and absolutism. So in some way Hindus will be absolute and certain about what their religion is all about. So it is about coming to that point. So otherwise, you will see in India how people express the diversity. I usually say that they either keep diversity either anonymous or the scattered. It has nothing to do with each other, or it doesn't have any logical connection with each other. This is how we define the diversity. So that's not the case in my book. I give the logical arguments why these things are there, what is enlightenment, what is the meaning of this story. So it is not just about marketing, we are multiple gods and goddesses, we are tolerant about each other. It is not just about that. So that's the unique point, coming to the absolutism and certainty.
All right. Now I have to point out certain things. First of all, so you have used diacritical marks about the Sanskrit terms on and off. Maybe a bit more. I mean, it should be uniform. That's in my opinion. And sometimes I have noticed that there are typos in the diacritical marks. So of course, that I mean, just can be done. I can point you out. I have read the book, but
So
there's no
that
point.
would be really helpful for the second edition. I would be happy. If let me know those things.
Correct. Absolutely. Now, also one thing you mentioned somewhere that the Sutra, Vartika, and the entire system is all different ways of, you use the term A plus B whole square. Correct?
Yeah.
But as far as my understanding goes, these are, I mean, the Sutra is not the same as Vartika.
Yeah.
And so why do you call all of them as A plus B whole square? Or why do you call all of them as just different ways of the same formula? I mean, in my understanding, these are not the same formula at all. So
yeah, the reason behind that is there were some school of thoughts which originated in the colonial era. You will see that Vedas are supreme and rest of the books are not shall not be taken seriously, or Puranas shall not be taken seriously. You might be knowing about which schools I am speaking about. So there were some schools which were there, which were identifying themselves with certain set of books like Vedas, or someone will identifying themselves with Vaishnavism or Vaishnav related literature, and they will deny the other books. So to keep the Hinduism into the single thread, connected with the single thread, I have given that they are somehow connected with each other. But thing is that Hinduism is about agreement and disagreement. So Sutra, Tika, they might have a different content, but somehow they also speak about the basic things are which are very common. Like in case of Ramayana and Mahabharata, you will see the one thing which is common is that dharma and the four phases of life, brahmacharya, vanprastha, and all that kind of thing. So there are a few basic things which are common in all the scriptures, or they unify. There are some symbols which project that they are unified with each other. So in that sense, I have given that example A plus B square, because how people accept Vedas but deny Puranas. But there is complete you can say series of things, how genealogy passes from Vedas to Puranas. So
correct.
That's the philosophical connection which I have kept through that example.
No, my concern is the following: is that let us be correct on facts, because you understand why the reason I'm saying it.
I understand.
Some people may just pick on this one part and try to deconstruct your entire book based on this. So let's not call them. I mean, we may call them as understanding the same fundamental issue, but let's not call them as the same formula, because I mean the Vartika and this Mahabhashya, etc., have a lot more examples, and all of the sutras are very specific and
very specific.
So this is my only concern and my suggestion is, let us not call them the exact same thing.
Exact from same different angles. We cannot say that. Yes,
you cannot say that. That's the thing. So just be. Also about this darshan, you spent quite a bit of time about this Shad darshan, and also about Jainism and Buddhism and how they are not different. And I congratulate you for calling that out again. So I wish that you actually started off from more basics, in the sense of why do we even call them as darshan, rather than just saying the British called it six darshans and therefore this is a critique of that. Something more fundamental would probably have helped. Anyway,
the reason I didn't highlight that fundamentalism, why darshan is there. The problem is that the way we teach six darshan or Buddhism, Jainism, they are more about finding out faults in each other. You must be knowing how academics teaches the philosophy. They are more about finding faults about each other, how this is different from that, what are the differences between them. But the one thing which they don't highlight, that all of them are targeted or oriented towards the enlightenment. So I have kept that goal-oriented approach. That's the thing. I have not focused on all those kind of things. But as you have said, I may define the darshan in the next edition, but I won't be highlighting the unnecessary artificial fault lines created among them.
Correct. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm saying that exactly what you were trying to say, that you should highlight that these are artificial fault lines.
Yes,
That's
yes, they are
that.
artificial fault lines because they wanted to create
The-
some social movement related to Buddhism, Jainism, and Charvak. And you know how these things culminated in the modern era, even in the post-independence.
Correct. So, one question is that as a concerned Hindu, I read this book and I see how different efforts have come to decolonize Hinduism. I understand some of the issues. I believe some of the issues, but can I do something in practice as an individual level, maybe as a family level, maybe as a small group of people level, to counter this narrative? And this is probably going a bit beyond the book, but I guess this is an important question. So if you have some
see, I have written book. That's the one part to understand how narratives are happening. I cannot say that I cover all the topics, but as a practice, you have said the most important thing which we can do is identifying ourselves or connecting our genealogy with the ancestors. So that will create a deep-rooted kind of idea that from how much time we are existing in this civilization, and our genealogy goes till Brahma. So because everyone in Hinduism somehow finds the genealogy connected to Brahma through rishis and all. So we can do that. At least in my case, that's the true thing, because my mother is a Suryavanshi. So I know how my genealogy goes to Lord Rama and all. So if we can connect our children and our society with our genealogy, then it might be really easy to connect themselves, so that we will carry our past or culture as a heritage, that this is how we are carrying the culture. The second thing is that in case of narratives, one of the chapter is there that all rituals are meaningless. So only thing which we can do at personal level, that we shall carry forward our all the rituals related to idols or otherwise daily rituals regarding Hinduism, and very proudly we have started making our life ritual less. So nowadays, I do not see people practicing rituals. So ritual plays very important role to ensure integrity, daily integrity with the religion. And second thing, as you have concerned Hindu about the culture, I know I can understand that people are concerned about their culture and demography. So geopolitical things and all these things must be understood in some rational way, where this problem of cultural invasion and all these things start. So you must study all those things, and I do see kind of things, violence happening. So training regarding even the physical training is important about self protection.
correct. We have about 5 minutes left for the session, so I'm just requesting if anyone else has a question. Yeah, so the book links are available. I mean, you can just search in Amazon, Flipkart, all of these places.
They are available on Amazon, as well as I have my own website, shubhamdeore.in. There you will find book link as well as all my podcasts.
Right. So, of course, you have already spoken about your second edition of the book, and I guess some of these organization issues will be handled. But any plans of writing a second book?
I was planning about writing a second book, but right now I am studying about that. I have bought one book, Rivers of Rigveda by Jijit Nadamuri. If you know ISRO scientist. So now I am studying his books and understanding geographical chronology and all those things. So similar kind of content I may create, but not related, not like him, but in some other way. There are 2, 3 authors I am thinking of reading about them, and after maybe I may collab with them for the book. Let's see how it goes for the second one.
All right. And on the title of the book, finally, I guess we can ask a couple of last questions. So, on the title of the book, I think the word you have said, exposing shallow attempts. I think this can be interpreted in 2 ways. What you meant is that the attempt is shallow, in the sense that they have got no substance. They've got no
Yes.
substance. That's what people have to read your book to understand this. On the
Yes.
face value, it may think, or on the face value, it may seem that the attempt is not effective enough. That is another meaning of the word shallow. So
Yeah.
I think
I
maybe
I
something.
have taken the first meaning from as you said.
Yes, yeah, I know, but I guess these attempts. In the first time I read the title of the book, I said I actually took the second meaning, but then I thought for a while and said it cannot be the second meaning. But
Yes.
I'm saying these are issues.
After few years, once we become strong as a Hindu society, then second meaning may also be applicable.
No, I mean this is the destroyed and divided dharma. Anyway, so I guess I'm not sure if anyone else has questions. Let me just check. May not be. So maybe I may move on to the last question on the topic, and it has got 2 minutes of time. So so you've given a lot of tables and figures, etc. So
Yes.
this book is probably book is alike for the serious reader and also for the casual reader. That is something that I kind of got the idea that. So did you mean that anybody who is just, for example, flipping the book will also get something? And this is a new technique that probably, I mean, I've seen some authors have used, and you have also used it. This thing. So typically, serious books have no or little tables, but your book is full of tables and figures. Was that deliberate? Are you trying to attempt, or are you trying to attract the young, the so-called pop culture readers, or was it just because of your engineering background? Tables are much more
You can say
amenable to
both.
us.
See, engineering people are damn creative about everything, so that reflects everywhere. So that is the one of the issue. You will see the even the titles I have taken because of my engineering background. I do understand some technical things, even though I'm civil engineer, but I do understand quantum physics and all these things at basic level. So that is one of the motivation. But thing is that if you can express something in the diagrammatical form, you must go for it rather than the writing a whole paragraph. It also becomes economic for you. Your book becomes little smaller. It becomes sellable. At the same time, if people can understand through table or the diagram, even for them it becomes easy to read. So you have to make the content more user friendly.
Yeah, but on that, my sincere request for the second edition is that there are lots of tables and figures without captions, etc. You must put some captions, maybe a table of contents on these things, because that will help and this organization.
People to understand, yeah.
Because it, as I said, this thing. So anyway, I guess we have hit 9:30. So if there are any comments from anyone else, otherwise I don't see any other comments. So let us close today's session. Let us congratulate Shubham G again. Namaskar, Shubham G, once more for taking time out for for Voice of India Academy. And my request to everyone is that if you please want to join, you may please contact any one of us about this Voice of India Academy, and you may join. And we do this every month. We highlight a book. A panel reads it thoroughly, and then has this question answer session with the rather than just a book presentation. So that's the format that we would follow. And I wish more such books from both Shubham Ji and us, the Hindus and Indians, come, and we can finally decolonize our minds. So that's what.
I would thank Voice of India Academy for giving me opportunity and inviting over here. And the one thing which I pointed out in Arnabji when he introduced me, he said that calling a spade, it takes a lot of guts. So I would appreciate that comment from him. And there are many things we didn't discuss on the podcast. People may be or may not be knowing the reasons, how it is difficult to call a spade a spade. So I would request everyone to read a book and get to know what he actually means. So you will know all those things in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. So let us